I still remember the exact moment my world shattered into a million pieces. The crystal chandeliers sparkled above me like frozen stars, and the marble floor beneath my feet felt as cold as my mother's heart had always been. Over 100 people dressed in silk and diamonds filled the grand ballroom, their champagne glasses catching the light as they celebrated my mother's 52nd birthday. The air smelled of expensive perfume and fresh roses, but I felt like I was drowning. My hands were shaking as I carried the tray of wine glasses through the crowd. Yes, I was carrying a tray even though I was supposed to be a guest. Mom had insisted I help the waiters because we need to make sure everything is perfect, Angel. She never asked Bethany to carry anything. Bethany was too busy posing for photos in her white designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I was exhausted. I had just finished a 16-hour shift at the hospital where I work as a nurse, and my feet were killing me. But Mom had demanded I come straight to the party without even going home to change. "Don't you dare embarrass me by being late," she had said on the phone that morning. I watched my younger sister Bethany laugh and flip her perfect blonde hair as she took another selfie with Mom's wealthy friends. Mom stood beside her, beaming with pride, her arm wrapped around Bethany's shoulders. They looked like queens holding court. I couldn't remember the last time Mom had put her arm around me like that. Maybe never. The party was everything Mom loved. Fancy, expensive, and full of people she wanted to impress. The live band played smooth jazz in the corner. Ice sculptures shaped like swans were melting slowly on the buffet tables. Everything was white and gold and absolutely perfect. Everything except me. I was trying to stay invisible, weaving through the crowd with my tray, when suddenly, Bethany stepped backward, right into my path. She was holding up her phone, pretending to take a selfie, but I saw the small smile on her face. She knew exactly what she was doing. I tried to stop, but it was too late. The tray tilted. Red wine splashed across Bethany's pristine white dress like blood on snow. Bethany's scream could have shattered the crystal chandeliers. "My dress! You ruined my dress!" The music stopped. Every conversation died. 100 pairs of eyes turned to stare at me. The silence was so thick, I could barely breathe. "Angel!" Mum's voice cut through the air like a knife. She rushed over, her face twisted with rage. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't check if I was okay. She just looked at the wine stain on Bethany's dress, and then at me with pure hatred in her eyes. "How could you be so clumsy, so stupid?" Mum hissed. Her words were quiet, but somehow everyone could hear them. "This dress cost $8,000. It was an accident, Mum." Bethany stepped back. "Don't you dare blame your sister." Mum's voice rose now, getting louder with each word. "You always ruin everything. Every single time we have something nice, you destroy it." I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of all these people who were watching me, like I was some kind of circus act. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'll pay for the dress." "I'll pay for it?" Mom laughed, but there was no humor in it. "With what? Your pathetic nurse salary? Do you know how embarrassing you are? Look at you. Look at what you're wearing. Look at how you never measure up." The room was spinning. I could see Dad standing near the bar, looking at the floor. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He never did when Mom attacked me like this. Bethany was crying perfect tears, milking the moment for all it was worth. Then Mom said the words that would haunt me forever. Her voice was cold and clear, and meant for everyone to hear. "I wish you were never born." Time stopped. The words hung in the air like poison. I saw people gasp. I saw Diane, Mum's best friend, cover her mouth in shock. I saw the waiter freeze with his tray halfway to a table. Something inside me broke. But instead of crumbling, I felt something else. Something strong and fierce and done with being small. I stood up straighter. I looked my mother right in the eyes. My voice came out steady and clear, and I felt every person in that room holding their breath. "Consider me as if I never existed. Live your lives as though there was never a daughter named Angel." The whole party froze. Mom's face turned white as Bethany's stained dress. The silence in that ballroom reminded me of every silent moment in my childhood when I waited for my mother to notice me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all really started. Back to when I was just a little girl who didn't understand why her own mother looked at her with cold eyes. I was 10 years old the first time I realized my mother didn't love me the same way she loved Bethany. It was my birthday, April 15th. I woke up excited, expecting balloons or maybe pancakes, shaped like flowers like I'd seen in movies. Instead, I found Mom on the phone planning Bethany's birthday party, even though Bethany's birthday wasn't for 3 more months. Yes, we'll need a bouncy castle and a petting zoo, Mum said into the phone, not even looking up when I walked into the kitchen. Money is no object. This party needs to be perfect for my baby girl. I stood there in my pajamas, waiting. Finally, I said, Mum, it's my birthday today. She glanced at me briefly. Oh, right. Happy birthday, Angel. There's cereal in the cupboard. Then she went right back to planning Bethany's party. No cake, no presents, no song, just cereal, and the sound of my mother's voice getting excited about someone else's special day. 3 months later, Bethany's 7th birthday had over 100 kids, 3 clowns, a magician, and a real unicorn. Well, a white horse with a horn strapped to its head, but still, I helped set up the tables and clean up afterward while Bethany opened presents that could have fed a small country. That became the pattern of my life. I achieved, I tried, I worked so hard to make Mum proud, but it was never enough. When I graduated high school with honors, Mum left my graduation early because Bethany had a dance recital across town. A recital, not even a competition, just a regular practice performance. Bethany needs me, Mom had said, already gathering her purse. You understand, don't you, Angel? You're smart enough to not need me there. Dad had stayed, but he spent the whole ceremony on his phone, probably texting Mom. My brother Kevin had sent a card from college. Inside it said, "Proud of you, sis." It was the kindest thing anyone in my family had said to me in months. I thought maybe things would change when I became a nurse. Surely Mum would be proud that I was helping people, saving lives. The day I got my nursing license, I rushed home to tell her. She was having tea with Diane and barely looked up from her magazine. That's nice, dear. Bethany just got 50,000 new followers on her social media. Can you believe it? My daughter, an influencer. I stood there holding my license, feeling it get heavy in my hands. Mum, I'm a nurse now. I worked so hard for this. She said, turning a page. Diane, look at this photo, Bethany posted. Doesn't she look stunning? I went to my room and cried. Then I dried my tears and went to work. Because that's what I did. I kept going. The only person who truly saw me was Mrs. Chen, my elderly neighbor. She was 78 years old with kind eyes and hands that always smelled like the ginger cookies she baked. She had lived next door to my apartment for 2 years, and somehow she had become more of a mother to me than my own. Your mama is a fool, Mrs. Chen told me one evening over tea. We were sitting in her tiny kitchen that always felt warmer than any room in my parents' mansion. You are a good girl, a strong girl, but you keep trying to get water from an empty well. She's my mother, I said quietly. Maybe if I just try harder. No, Mrs. Chen's voice was firm. She reached across the table and took my hand. You cannot make someone love you by destroying yourself. You are enough, Angel. You were always enough. I wanted to believe her. But how do you believe you're enough when the person who gave birth to you looks at you like you're a mistake? 3 days before Mum's birthday party, she called me at the hospital during my shift. I was in the middle of checking on a patient, but I answered because I always answered when Mum called. You need to come to my party, she said. No greeting, no asking how I was. Mum, I'm working a double shift that day. I'll be exhausted. I don't care if you're dying, Angel. You will be there. It would look terrible if my oldest daughter wasn't at my birthday. People will talk. I arrived at the Grand Pearl Hotel 3 hours before the party started, just like Mum demanded. My body ached from working 16 hours straight at the hospital, and my uniform was still in my car because I hadn't even had time to go home and change properly. I'd thrown on a simple black dress I kept in my locker for emergencies, but I already knew it wouldn't be good enough. The ballroom looked like something from a fairy tale. White roses covered every surface. Gold ribbons hung from the ceiling in perfect waves. The ice sculptures were still being carved by artists who probably cost more than my car. Everything sparkled and shimmered and screamed wealth. Mom stood in the center of it all, directing workers like a general, commanding an army. She wore a silver gown that probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. Her hair was styled in perfect curls, her makeup flawless. When she saw me, her smile disappeared. "Finally," she said, looking me up and down with disgust. "Is that what you're wearing?" "I came straight from work like you asked," I said quietly. "Well, you look like you came from work. Stay in the back and help with the serving. I don't want people seeing you until you look presentable." Bethany appeared beside Mum like a ghost in white. Her designer dress hugged her perfectly, probably custom-made for tonight. She looked at me and smirked. "Oh, Angel, that dress is so simple," Bethany said sweetly, but her eyes were mean. "I mean, not everyone can pull off high fashion. Right, Mom?" Mom actually laughed. "At least you tried, Angel. Now go help the caterers set up the wine table." I swallowed the lump in my throat and walked away. Behind me, I heard them laughing together. The guests started arriving at 7. The ballroom filled with people wearing jewelry that could probably pay off my student loans. Everyone kissed Mom's cheeks and told her how young she looked, how beautiful the party was, how lucky she was to have such a perfect family. I stayed near the edges, helping servers even though I was supposed to be a guest. Nobody noticed me anyway. That was my role in this family. The invisible daughter. I watched Dad work the room, shaking hands and making business connections. He was good at that, at pretending everything was perfect. He'd smile and nod and never, ever rock the boat. When he passed by me carrying a tray, he looked right through me, like I was part of the furniture. Mom introduced Bethany to everyone important. "This is my daughter Bethany, the influencer. She has over 2 million followers, you know. Such a talented girl." When someone asked about her other children, Mum would say, "Oh, my son Kevin is a lawyer in California, very successful." Then she'd pause, like she was trying to remember if she had anyone else, before adding, "And Angel is around here somewhere, like I was a lost umbrella instead of her daughter. Bethany was in her element, posing for photos with guests, recording videos for her social media. She kept glancing at me with this satisfied smile, like she was happy I was there to see how much better she was than me. The evening dragged on. My feet hurt from standing in heels after my long shift. My head pounded from exhaustion, but I stayed because leaving would somehow be worse than enduring this torture. Then Kevin called from California. The DJ paused the music so Mom could take the call on speaker for everyone to hear. "Happy birthday, Mom!" Kevin's voice boomed through the sound system. "Sorry I couldn't make it. Trial ran late." "Oh, sweetheart, I understand," Mom cooed. "Your work is so important." They talked for 5 minutes. Kevin never once asked if I was there. Mum never mentioned me. It was like I didn't exist even when I was standing 20 feet away. After the call ended, one of the male guests approached me. His name was Thomas, and he was a doctor at a different hospital. We'd met at a medical conference once. "Angel, I thought that was you. How are you?" "Still saving lives at Memorial." Finally, someone who saw me. We started talking about work, about a difficult case I'd handled last week. Thomas listened, like what I said actually mattered. For 10 minutes, I felt like a real person instead of a shadow. That's when Bethany noticed. I saw her face change from bored to jealous. She didn't like anyone paying attention to me, especially not a handsome, successful man. She whispered something to Mum, and they both looked at me with identical cold expressions. Bethany started walking toward us, her phone up like she was taking a selfie. But I knew my sister. I knew that calculating look in her eyes. She was planning something. She stepped backward right into my path just as I was asked to help pass wine glasses. I tried to stop, but her heel came down hard and sudden. The wine flew through the air in slow motion, red as blood, splashing across that perfect white dress. Bethany's scream still echoed in my ears as I stood there, frozen, watching the red wine drip down her white dress. The entire ballroom held its breath. Mum's face had gone from angry to something darker, something that made my stomach twist. But before she could say another word, before I could turn and walk out that door, Diane stepped forward. Diane was Mum's best friend since college. They'd known each other for over 30 years. She was a tall woman with grey hair she wore proudly, and she'd always been kind to me in the quiet moments when Mum wasn't watching. Now she stood between me and my mother, and her face looked sad and tired. "Patricia, stop," Diane said quietly. "Just stop." Mum blinked, confused. "Diane, what are you doing?" "She ruined." "She didn't ruin anything," Diane interrupted. Bethany stepped backward into her on purpose. "I saw it. And honestly, I'm tired of watching this." The room got even quieter somehow. People leaned in, sensing drama better than the wine spill. "Diane, you don't know what you're talking about," Mum said, her voice shaking slightly. "This is my party and I won't have you." "Angel, wait. Don't leave yet," Diane said, looking at me. Her eyes were wet. "You deserve to know the truth. You've deserved it your whole life." My heart started pounding. "What truth?" Diane turned to face Mum fully. "Tell her, Patricia. Tell her why you've treated her like garbage for 28 years. Tell her why you look at her with hate when she's done nothing but try to earn your love." Mum's face went pale. "Diane, don't you dare." "Angel's father isn't Gregory," Diane said loudly, and the entire room gasped. I felt the floor tilt under me. Dad's face went white, but not with surprise, with the look of someone whose secret just got exposed. "What?" I whispered. Diane pulled out her phone, her hands shaking. "Your mother got pregnant with you when she was 23. She was in love with a man named James, a musician. He was kind and gentle, and he loved her completely. But Patricia's parents said he wasn't good enough. Wrong family, not enough money. They forced her to leave him and marry Gregory instead, because he came from the right background." Mum tried to speak, but no words came out. "Patricia was already 2 months pregnant with you when she married Gregory," Diane continued. "She passed you off as his, and he went along with it because it would look bad to refuse. But she's resented you every single day since, because every time she looks at you, she sees James. She sees the life she could have had, the love she gave up for money and status." I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. All those years, all that coldness, all that hate suddenly made horrible sense. "I have proof," Diane said, swiping through her phone. "Letters Patricia wrote to me back then. Photos of her with James. She kept them hidden. But I saved them because I knew someday the truth would need to come out." She held up her phone. Even from where I stood, I could see a photo of a young mum with a man who had dark hair and kind eyes. She was smiling at him in a way I'd never seen her smile at Dad. In a way she'd never smiled at me. "That's why she hates you, Angel," Diane said softly. "Not because of anything you did, not because you're not good enough, but because you remind her of what she lost. And instead of loving you for being a piece of that love, she punished you for it." Other guests started speaking up then. Mrs. Morrison, who'd known our family for years, said, "I saw Patricia ignore Angel at her 8th grade graduation. The girl got straight A's and Patricia left to go shopping." Mr. Wallace added, "At Angel's nursing school graduation, Patricia spent the whole ceremony on her phone." I felt terrible for the girl. More voices joined in. People who'd witnessed Mum's cruelty over the years but said nothing. The tide was turning, and Mum could feel it. "This is ridiculous." Mum finally found her voice. "These are lies. Diane, you're just jealous because—" "I'm not jealous," Diane said firmly. "I'm disgusted. I've watched you destroy this girl piece by piece for almost 3 decades. I kept your secret because you begged me to, because you were my friend. But I'm done watching you abuse your daughter because you're too much of a coward to deal with your own regrets." Mum looked around the room desperately. Everyone was staring at her with judgment in their eyes. Even Bethany looked shocked, like she was seeing Mum clearly for the first time. Dad stood there silently, still unable to meet my eyes, and I just stood there, feeling like my entire life had been a lie. I don't know how long I stood there, trying to process everything Diane had said. The ballroom felt like it was closing in on me, all those eyes staring, waiting to see what I would do. Part of me wanted to scream, to cry, to collapse right there on that cold marble floor, but another part of me, a stronger part I didn't know existed, kept me standing tall. Mum tried to recover. She straightened her silver dress and forced a smile that looked more like a wound. Everyone, please. This is a misunderstanding. Diane is confused. She's had too much champagne and— I haven't had a single drink, Diane said calmly. And neither has anyone else here who witnessed your cruelty over the years. Mum's fake smile cracked. She looked at me with something that might have been panic. Angel, you don't actually believe this nonsense, do you? I'm your mother. I've always done my best for you. I finally found my voice. It came out steady and clear, stronger than I'd ever heard it. Your best? Mum, you forgot my 10th birthday. You left my high school graduation early. When I became a nurse, you barely looked up from your magazine. That was your best? I was busy. I had responsibilities. Mum's voice got shrill. You have no idea how hard it was raising 3 children. You didn't raise me, I said quietly. Mrs. Chen raised me more than you ever did. She was at my nursing graduation when you weren't. She remembered my birthday every single year. She saw me when you looked right through me. Bethany finally spoke up, her voice small. Angel, I didn't know. I mean, I knew Mum favored me, but I didn't know why. You knew enough, I said, looking at my sister. You enjoyed it. You used it. Every mean comment, every time you made me look bad. You knew Mum would take your side. Bethany looked down at her stained dress, and for once, she had nothing to say. I turned to Dad, who still hadn't moved from his spot by the bar. And you knew I wasn't yours, and you punished me for it by pretending I didn't exist. You're supposed to be the adult, but you're just a coward who chose peace over protecting a child. Dad's face turned red, but he stayed silent. Because what could he say? It was all true. Then I heard a familiar voice coming through the sound system. Angel, is that you, Kevin? Someone must have called him back and left the phone connected. Kevin? My voice broke a little. I heard everything, he said, and he sounded angry. Angel, I'm so sorry. I should have been there for you more. I saw how they treated you and I left anyway. I ran away to California and told myself it wasn't my problem. Tears started falling down my face, but I didn't wipe them away. I already bought you a plane ticket, Kevin continued. Come stay with me. Stay as long as you need. Forever if you want. You deserve a family that actually loves you. I looked around the ballroom one more time. At Mum, who'd hated me for being born. At Dad, who'd been too weak to love me. At Bethany, who'd used me as a stepping stool. At all these wealthy people who'd watched me suffer and said nothing until tonight. Thank you, Kevin, I said. I'll take you up on that offer. Then I looked at Mum directly. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I spent 28 years trying to earn love from someone who was never going to give it. I'm done now. I'm finally done. Mum's face crumpled. Angel, wait. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I said. You wished I was never born, so consider your wish granted. From this moment on, you don't have a daughter. Named Angel. I walked toward the exit, and this time, nobody stopped me. My heels clicked on the marble floor, each step taking me further from the family that never wanted me, and closer to a life where I could finally breathe. Behind me, I heard Mum start to cry. Real tears this time, not the fake ones she used to manipulate people. Maybe she was crying because she realized what she'd lost. Maybe she was crying because everyone now knew the truth. I didn't turn around to find out. I walked out of that ballroom with my head high, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt free. 3 months later, I was sitting in Kevin's backyard in California, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Mrs. Chen had flown out to visit and was showing Kevin's partner how to make her famous ginger cookies. My new co-workers from the hospital where I'd gotten promoted were there too, laughing and talking.